Hello and welcome to our webinar, Why Yay? The Latest Reads for Teens. I'm Maggie Reagan, Senior Editor, Books for Youth. Before we begin, I'd like to go over some technical details. To resize the slides, look to the magnifying glass icons located to the left of the slides. There you can increase or decrease the size and select how you'd like the slides to appear. If you lose audio or would like to change the way you're connected to it, look at the bottom of your screen for a circle with 3 dots. Clicking that icon will open a menu with an audio connection option. The audience is in listen-only mode, but we welcome any questions you may have. On the right side of your screen is a control panel with an area at the bottom for Q&A. Simply type your question into the field and click Send. Attendees can see questions asked during the webinar and the answers provided. Links to today's slide and title list were sent directly to you from WebEx at the start of the webinar, but you can also download them at any time by copying the URLs on this screen into your web browser. All attendees will receive a follow-up email containing links to today's slide presentation, title list, certificate of completion, and video recording tomorrow. Today we have the pleasure of hearing from Jasmine Miranda, Assistant Marketing Manager at Bloomsbury, Latoya Maitland, Marketing Manager at Disney Book Group, Lynette Kim, Library Marketing Manager at Inkyard Press, an imprint of Harlequin, Anthony Parisi, Associate Director of Marketing at Tor Teen, and Londa Alderink, Vice President of Marketing at Blink. First, we'll hear from Jasmine Miranda. Jasmine is the Assistant Marketing Manager for the School Library Marketing Team at Bloomsbury, where she gets to marry the 2 biggest loves in life, children's books and travel. Previously, she worked as a marketing coordinator at Scholastic. She completed her BA in English and Linguistics at Lemmon College. Welcome, Jasmine. The floor is yours.
Hi, everyone. Happy to kick things off. So the first book that we want to talk about is 1919, the year that changed America. This book is a stunning example of narrative nonfiction. It seamlessly weaves important historical events from that pivotal year, the molasses flood, the suffrage movement, the Red Summer, and it shows how each changed the country. Sandler traces the momentum and setbacks of these movements through this last century, showing that progress isn't always a straight line and offering a unique lens through which we can understand history and the change many still seek. And of course, the book was the winner of the 2019 National Book Award. Our next book is The Wicker Light. This is an atmospheric, magical thriller perfect for fans of Maggie Stiefvater and Melissa Albert. It's a sequel to The Wren Hunt, but it's a standalone as well. You don't need to read the first book to fall in love with this one. It's been 2 months since the death of Zara's sister, Layla. Vicious rumors circle about what happened, but nothing can be confirmed. Zara is sure that someone knows what happened, and she throws herself headfirst into an investigation. But retracing her sister's footsteps has her stumbling upon an ancient feud between 2 magical factions. Zara quickly finds herself in a dangerous, twisted game, and if she isn't careful on the path she's treading, she could end up with the same fate as Layla. Our next book is A Heart So Fierce and Broken. So if you haven't read A Curse So Dark and Lonely, you need to pick this book up as soon as possible. It's a New York Times bestseller, a Goodreads Choice Award finalist, and it has been named to several Best of 2019 lists. In A Heart So Fierce and Broken, readers return to Emberfall in this fantastic sequel where friends become foes and love blooms in the darkest of places. So the curse is finally broken, but Prince Wren is still in trouble as rumors circulate that he is not the true heir to the throne and that forbidden magic has been unleashed in the land. Although Wren has Harper by his side, his guardsman Gray is missing, leaving more questions than answers. This book is compulsively readable and addicting, and it will leave you eager for the next one. Our next book in fantasy is Havenfall. In Haven Falls, Sarah Holland takes the lush fantasy that captured readers in her best-selling Everlist series and weaves it into the real world to create a captivating new series. Hidden deep in the mountains of Colorado lies an inn at Havenfall, a sanctuary that connects ancient worlds together. For generations, the inn has protected all who seek refuge, and any who disrupt the peace can never return. For Maddie Morrow, summers at the inn are more than a chance to experience the magic firsthand and escape from reality. But this summer, the impossible happens. A dead body is found, shattering everything that the inn stands for. Maddie suddenly finds herself responsible for the safety of everyone in Havenfall. She'll do anything to uncover the truth, even if it means working together with an alluring new staff member named Taya, who seems to know more than she's letting on. As dark secrets are revealed about the inn itself, one thing becomes clear to Maddie: no one can be trusted and no one is safe. Our next book is Hardwired by Len Vlahos, who was a Morris finalist. This book is a science fiction story that's grounded in the real world and contemporary. So Quinn thinks he's a normal 15-year-old. He plays video games, spends time with his friends, and crushes on a girl named Shay. But a shocking secret brings his entire world crashing down. He's not a boy, he's artificial intelligence. After Quinn wakes up, he sees his world was nothing than a virtual construct. He's the first fully aware AI in the world, part of a grand multi-billion-dollar experiment that was led by the man he thought was his father. Hardwired offers a perfect blend of science fiction and contemporary, and it's a high-stakes tale that explores big questions about what it means to be human. Next, we have The Map from Here to There by Emery Lord. The Map from Here to There is a companion novel to The Start of Me and You, and Emery crafts a gorgeous story of friendship and identity and dares to ask what happens after happily ever after. So it's Paige Hancock's senior year, and senior year means big decisions. Weighing the rest of her life, Paige feels her anxiety begin to pervade every decision she makes. Everything is exactly how she wanted it to be. How can she leave it all behind next year? In her head, she knows there is much more to experience after high school, but in her heart, is it so terrible to want everything to stay the same forever? Our next book is The Gravity of Us. This is a smart, heartwarming debut novel by Phil Stamper. It's perfect for fans of Becky Appertali and Adam Cervera. It's about two teens who find love when their lives are uprooted for their parents' involvement in NASA mission to Mars. Carl wants to be a journalist, and he's already well underway with almost 500,000 followers on social media and an upcoming internship at BuzzFeed. But his plans are derailed when his pilot father is selected for a highly publicized NASA mission to Mars. Within days, Cal and his parents leave Brooklyn for Houston. It's there that Cal meets Leon, whose mother is another astronaut on the mission, and he finds himself falling head over heels and fast. They support each other amid the craziness of their experiences, and as their relationship grows, so does the frenzy surrounding the Mars mission. And when secrets are revealed about the ulterior motives of the program, Cal must find a way to get to the truth without hurting the people who have become important to him. Our next book is another contemporary called All the Invisible Things. In this novel, a girl decides it's time to finally be herself, but will that cost her her best friend who once meant everything to her? Ever since her mom died, Vetty has hidden her heart. She'd rather keep secrets than risk getting hurt, even if it means not telling anyone she's pretty sure she's bisexual. But this summer, everything could change. Vetty and her family are moving back to her old neighborhood, right across the street from her childhood best friend, Pez. She quickly discovers that Pez isn't the boy she once knew. He has a new group of friends and a glamorous sort of girlfriend named March, and things get even more complicated when she feels a sudden spark with March. As Vetty navigates her relationship with Pez and her own shifting feelings, one question looms. Does becoming the girl she's always wanted to be mean losing the friendship that she once thought was everything? The book is on sale in March. Our next book is by Tanya Bolden. It's called Saving Savannah. This book is set amongst the backdrop of the widespread social change in 1919 with a focus on women's rights, the Red Summer, and anarchist bombings. Saving Savannah is the story of a girl and the risks that she must take to change the world on the brink of dramatic transformation. Savannah Riddle is lucky. As a daughter of an upper-class African-American family in Washington, D.C., she attends one of the most rigorous public schools in the nation, black or white, and she has her pick among the young men in her set. But lately, everything about high society, the fancy parties, the Sunday teas, pretentious men, and the shallow young women, feels suffocating. Then Savannah meets Lloyd, a young West Indian man from the working class who opens Savannah's eyes to how the other half lives. Inspired to fight for change, Savannah starts attending suffragist lectures and socialist meetings, finding herself drawn more and more into Lloyd's world. The book is on sale in January. And lastly, I wanted to talk about two of our nonfiction titles, Poisoned Water and One Person, No Vote. Poisoned Water goes into the Flint water crisis, and it's based on the author's original reporting and features government documents and photographs. It's a riveting look at an alarming story of how the government turned away from its citizens and the power of those same citizens who rose up and demanded action. One Person, No Vote tackles voter suppression and how the 2013 Supreme Court case eviscerated the Voting Rights Act of 1965. It focused on the aftermath of what is now known as the Shelby ruling, and Anderson follows an astonishing story of a government-dictated racial discrimination unfolding before our very eyes as more and more states adopt voter suppression laws. In gripping detail, she explains how voter suppression works and explores the resistance and how activism and court battles are currently happening to restore the basic right to vote to all Americans as we gear up for the 2020 election. This is a very important read, and it's perfect for civics classes and offers that not only the history, but also tips on how teens can make a difference. So that's the last of ours. Thank you very much. If you would like to see any of these books, please feel free to contact me at jasmine.miranda@bloomsbury.com.
Thank you so much, Jasmine. Next up, we'll hear from LaToya Maitland. LaToya is the School and Library Marketing Manager for the Disney Book Group, where she's been for the last 9 years. Prior to that, she worked for the Stepping Stones Museum for Children, handling marketing and promotions, but her very first job was as a page in the South Norwalk Library in Connecticut. Take it away, LaToya.
Thank you. So I'll take you through our winter-spring titles. So first up, we have Scavengers of Stars by Tara Sim. This is book one in an opulent new fantasy duo. We're describing it as a gender-swapping twist on the classic The Count of Monte Cristo. It's set amongst the diaspora of a city-state poised between two major empires. The story follows Amaya, who was sold to a debtor ship at a young age. When she rescues a mysterious stranger who offers her riches and a new identity, she sets off on a dangerous game of revenge against the men who ruined her father's fortune and took away the life she once knew. Next, we have Say Her Name. From award-winning author Zetta Elliott comes this poignant and compelling poetry collection inspired by the Say Her Name campaign. Elliott engages poets from the past 2 centuries to create a chorus of voices celebrating the creativity, resilience, and courage of Black women and girls, and reveals the beauty, danger, and magic found in the intersection of race and gender. The book contains 49 poems which are fully unapologetic in the pursuit of justice and humanity and pay tribute to the victims of police brutality as well as activists. Elliott's thought-provoking and upworking collection, paired with Loveless Wives, bold and striking illustrations, will move every reader to pause, reflect, and respond. Next, we have Super Jace. Ever wonder how the partners of superheroes must feel constantly being kidnapped or tied to train tracks? Well, in this hilarious novel by Crystal Sesteri, explores what it's like to be the non-super half of a dynamic duo. Spoiler alert, it's not so easy. Set in Chicago, this is a fresh take on the world of superheroes, and it follows two characters, Claire and Bridget. Claire has always wanted to work with superheroes, from collecting Warrior Nation cards as a kid to drafting what to say to a hero speeches in her diary. When she lands a coveted internship with the Chicago branch of Warrior Nation, she's ready to prove she belongs, super or not. But complicating the plan is the newest War Nation hero, Power Girl, who happens to be egotistical, self-important, and pretty cute. Bridget, on the other hand, wants out. After years of dating famous Vaporizer, she is sick of playing second or third or 500th fiddle to all the people in peril in the city. Of course, once Bridget meets Claire, who's clearly in need of a mentor and a wingman, giving up Warnat becomes slightly more complicated, and it becomes a lot more complicated when the heroes go missing and Claire and Bridget have to save the day. This is filled with romance and thoughtful queer representation. Next, we have Elysium Girls by Kate Pentecost. This is a high fantasy, Death Bowl-inspired novel with an epic clash of witches, gods, and demons. Elysium is this walled city that exists in Dust Bowl, Oklahoma, that has been cut off from the rest of the world. The people in the city are suffering and praying to God for the Dust Bowl to end. When they learn there isn't only one God, there are two sisters, life and death. And these goddesses are using Elysium as a chessboard in a ruthless game where they gamble against each other with things such as time and space and human lives. The story follows 17-year-old Sal Wilkinson, who is called upon to lead Elysium. As she tries to prove herself as the best witch for the job, she triggers an incident that gets her exiled into the desert. There she stumbles upon a gang of girls led by another exiled young witch, which everyone in Elysium thinks to be dead. Sal teams up with the gang, and as an apocalypse looms, the girls and one demon will use their gifts to create a cavalry of magic-powered scrap metal horses to ride back to Elysium and beat the goddesses life and death at their own game. Next we have Incendiary. This is the first book in a two-book series by Zoraida Cordova. Set in a world inspired by Inquisition-era Spain, this is an epic tale of love and revenge. The royal family in the story sets out to destroy magic through a terrible inquisition. Fighting back against the crown are a group of rebel spies. Among them is Renata, a magic warrior thief trained in the arts of stealing memories. She was kidnapped by the king's justice as a child, who used her magic to carry out the king's wrath, which resulted in the death of thousands of her own people. She now seeks to kill the prince, leader of the king's justice, only to learn through powerful memories that he may be the greatest illusion of them all, and the fate of all magic now lies in her hands. This book explores the double-edged sword of memory and the triumph of hope in the midst of fear and oppression. Next, we have War and Speech by John Zolidis. This is like Mean Girls meets John Tucker Must Die. It's a fish-out-of-water story about a teen girl determined to sabotage the elitist speech team at her new school. The story follows a girl named Sydney Williams, whose father is sent to prison for a white-collar crime, so she moves into this dingy apartment with her mom, who struggles to support them. She starts a new school with promises of a fresh start, except this high school isn't like other high schools. It's ruled with an iron fist by the speech team, which embodies the most extreme winner-take-all philosophy. Sydney joins a group of fellow misfits who have each been personally victimized by the speech team, so they develop a plan to take down the speech team from within by making nationals in speech where they will be poised to topple the corrupt regime. But when she realizes she has a shot at actually winning, it might be her ticket out of loserdom, she has to debate whether she can really walk away or not. Readers will be swept up in Sydney and her friends' quest to right wrongs and shake things up at their school. Next, we have The Enigma Game by best-selling author Elizabeth Wynne. Wynne returns to a World War II setting in this historical fiction novel about 15-year-old Louisa Adar, who wants to fight back and make a difference and do something to escape the Blitz and the ghosts of her parents who were killed by enemy action. She accepts a position caring for an elderly German woman in a small Scottish village, but doesn't feel like it's a meaningful contribution. But when a German pilot lands in the village under mysterious circumstances and plants a key that leads Louisa and her friends an unparalleled discovery, an enigma machine that translates German code, Louisa and her friends Ellen, a volunteer driver with the Royal Air Force, and Jamie, a flight leader for the 648 Squadron, work together to unravel a puzzle that could turn the tide of the war, but doing so will put them directly in the crosshairs of the enemy. The story is set before the codename Verity, and we will see beloved characters from both codename Verity and the Pearl Thief. Next, we have Bewitched by author team Paige McKenzie and Nancy Olin. This is about an inclusive cast of witches who must team up with a rival coven at their high school to catch a killer. New girl and secret witch Iris just wants to get through her first day of school without a panic attack, but she ends up being taken in by a coven of 3 witches. Their rival coven, whose rivalry stretches all the way back to junior high, are the Triad. When the Triad's not using their spells, they punish their exes or break up happy couples for fun, they practice dark magic. The 2 covens have to put their rivalry aside and team up when tragedy strikes and someone's anti-witch ideology turns deadly. Bewitched is perfect for fans of Buffy the Vampire Slayer and Mean Girls. Next, we have Evil Thing. This is the 7th novel in the Serena Valentino villain series. This follows the rise and fall of the deranged and glamorous fan favorite Cruella de Vil. From her lonely childhood to her iconic fashion choices to that fateful car crash, Cruella tells all in this marvelous memoir of a woman doomed. And last, we have The Voting Booth from Stonewall award-winning author Brandy Colbert. This story is about 2 first-time teen voters who meet at their polling place and overcome obstacle after obstacle in order to cast a ballot in a critical election over the course of one crazy day. When Marva sees Duke turned away from their polling place, she takes it upon herself to make sure his vote is counted. She spent months registering voters just to see someone denied their rights. And then that's how their whirlwind day begins, rushing from precinct to precinct, cutting school, waiting in endless lines, turned away time and again, trying to do one simple thing, vote. They may have started out as strangers, but as Duke and Marva team up to beat a rigged system, it's clear that there's more to their connection than a shared mission for democracy. And those are all our titles. Feel free to email me with any questions and look for us on Twitter and also NetGalley.
Thank you so much, LaToya. Our next presenter will be Lynette Kim. Lynette is the library marketer for all Harlequin trade imprints, including Hanover Square, Graydon House, Park Row, Mira, HQN, and the recently relaunched teen imprint, Inkyard Press. Thank you for joining us today, Lynette.
Thanks. Okay, I'm excited to tell you all about what's coming in 2020. Starting with the year of Julie Kagawa. So I have exciting news that's been years in the making. We are launching a spin-off of Julie's internationally best-selling Iron Face series. The new series kicks off with a brand new novel, The Iron Raven, in 2021. So why am I bringing this up now? Well, to gear up, we've got a couple things going on in 2020. We are repackaging the original Iron Fae in paperback. These have new covers, updated content. Each paperback will contain bonus material as well as excerpts from the Iron Raven. So there's something here for both longtime fans and readers new to the series. 2020 will also see her acclaimed Shadow of the Fox trilogy coming to a close with Night of the Dragon. So as a refresher, this trilogy was Julie's passion project. It is a cinematic series inspired by anime, manga, and the Japanese mythology that she grew up with. And trust me when I say no one is safe in this epic conclusion. Don't read the comments. Okay, so if you're cool, you'll know what I say you'll know what I mean when I say that Eliza and her monster meets Slay is what this book is. I'm older and not cool, so I'm calling this one Ready Player One meets Notting Hill. The author approves of both, so it's fine. Just swap in for the Hugh Grant character, a young aspiring video game writer named Erin Jericho, and for the Julia Roberts character, a celebrity gaming queen named Divya Sharma. So these two find their paths crossing online, but before they have a chance to meet in person, Divya and Erin are about to find their virtual reality and their very sweet burgeoning romance invaded by the vicious trolling and doxing in the gaming community. Their ire is aimed at Divya both for her gender and her ethnicity. So this is a known voices novel inspired by real events. It's about what it's like when a safe space that has always given you a sense of community is suddenly very, very unwelcome. But don't worry, this queen doesn't plan to go down without a fight. I also think the book has what I call the Peter Parker MJ effect from Spider-Man Far From Home. Eric masterfully infuses that sweet awkwardness of teenage romance into the book. Okay, we didn't ask for this. We used to compare Eddie Al-Said to John Green, but after reading this book, I firmly believe that he stands in a class of his own. So we didn't ask for this. Takes place at a foreign international school, simply called Central. The location is undisclosed. The students are what you think of when you think of an international school. They are the children of missionaries, wealthy business people, diplomats. Every year the school holds a lock-in that has taken on a legendary status, but this year any plans of glory are about to be disrupted when a small group of eco-warrior students chain themselves to the door, so they are literally locking everyone inside. This is an incredibly hopeful story. It features a wonderfully diverse cast. It combines that quirky playfulness of 80s Brat Pack movies with the closed-room storytelling of Bel Canto. So the actual title, we didn't ask for this, refers to the environmental burden placed on younger generations, which is why I love that I get to introduce this book to you not long after the youth climate strike. I've read all of Eddie's books. I didn't even recognize his writing in this one. I think this is his best story to date. Sound of Stars. Okay, I love this book so much. You have to stay with me on this. Imagine 2 years ago, a third of the world's population wiped out by an invading race called the Ilori. Humanity did not exactly react positively, so now anything considered even a remote emotional transgression is now grounds for execution. So that means no more art, books, no more forms of creative expression. Since then, 17-year-old Ellie has been surviving in New York City precisely by breaking all of those rules. So at the risk of her life, she is a secret librarian. Meanwhile, M0RR1S, known as Morris, was born in an Ilorian lab. He's supposed to look and act human, but without those pesky human emotions. The trouble is Morris really likes human music. He's the one that finds Ellie's legal library, and of course he's obligated to turn her in. But instead, he has a solution that maybe could solve both their problems, but it's dangerous and it's thousands of miles away. So armed with a bag of books and a stack of old CDs, the two take off on a perilous road trip that, without giving anything away, ends up doubling as a journey to save the world. The Sound of Stars was written by a former librarian. It's a known voices story with a diverse group of characters, including my personal favorite, a random K-pop star who has a secret. And the whole story is led by a black heroine through whom Alicia does not shy away from issues of race. The book is dark, it's weird, I absolutely love it. A love-hate thing. So Whitney Grandison is one of those online writing sensations. She has millions of readers on Wattpad, tens of thousands of comments on her most popular books. A love-hate thing is about an it girl from a wealthy family who finds her summer completely upended when her parents decide to take in a boy from the other side of the tracks. His name is Trice. He has faced a lot of tragedy. Trice and Andy are about to be stuck together in close quarters, and they're in for some long summer nights. But as you might expect, the tight quarters are about to turn these enemies into something so much more. So we think this is a story that will appeal to fans of Mary H.K. Choi, Samira Ahmed, and Evie's Boys Pride. If you haven't read Abigail Johnston, I would say Every Other Weekend is an excellent entry point. Both Jolene and Adam are forced to spend every other weekend with their respective fathers who live in the same building. Neither of them get along with their dads, but these two are about to begin an unlikely friendship where they begin to share their grief and their dreams and their plans that for the first time suddenly feel possible. So soon the weekends he dreaded so much and she simply endured are about to become the best parts of their lives. You can hand this one to fans of Rainbow Rowell, Morgan Matson, Julie Buxbaum. Okay, so you may not have heard of Brian Francis, but this YA author is quite beloved in his native Canada, so much so that this novel is nominated for the Canadian Governor-General's Literary Awards for Young People's Fiction. Got it? Okay. Breaking Case of Emergency is a quirky, witty, coming-of-age tale set against the backdrop of a small town in the 90s. Toby Goodman's father left before she was born, and her mother unfortunately died by suicide 5 years ago. She's lived on her grandparents' dairy farm ever since, and she's convinced that she is her mother's daughter, but Toby has a plan to escape her mother's fate. Then her father comes back, and all hell breaks loose. So not only does it turn out that her father is gay, but he's also a world-famous female impersonator, and let's just say he has a personality that's way too big for this small town. With the return of Toby's dad to her life, all her plans are thrown completely into utter disarray. Luckily, there's a quirky cast of friends and family who are going to see her through the madness, and she's going to find a way to push forward, even if it's not according to her original plan. The book is raw, it's funny, it's authentic. It handles sensitive issues with a lot of dexterity. Great for fans of Emily X.R. Pan, Janny Nelson, and Emily M. Dance. Okay, Robin Talley is sort of a darling of the Yalsa world. She's carved herself a unique niche by writing stories about queer teens set against the backdrop of 20th century American history, be it during the Civil Rights Movement or in the age of McCarthyism. So it is only fitting that she tells a story about a unique friendship that takes place during the era of Harvey Milk and Anita Bryant. Since 1978, Tammy Larson is a closeted teen in SoCal living in an extremely conservative household. She copes partly by writing in her diary to Harvey Milk. Sharon Hawkins lives in San Francisco. She has a closeted brother and finds herself drawn to pro-gay activism happening in her city. So Tammy and Sharon are matched up as pen pals, bonding over their love for punk music. And as anti-gay political fervor starts to ramp up across the country, the two girls find themselves leaning on their friendship to figure out who they really are and what they truly stand for. So I have no comps to offer you for Robin because I do think she's that unique. I will say that the themes of identity and sexuality interspersed with historical fiction will appeal to school and library markets and will have a long, long shelf life. Okay. Sorry, I got to flip over. Okay, You Too. This is a nonfiction anthology featuring 25 essays by authors you know and love, including Ellen Hopkins, Beth Revis, and Mackenzie Lee. So as more and more Me Too stories have been shared over the past couple of years, author Janet Gertler began to think back on things she'd experienced as a young woman, things that she simply accepted, like being groped by male classmates at recess, or the shame of being a teenage girl walking around minding her own business when a group of guys start to call out number ratings, or when she's a little older working as a 20-something-year-old, discovering she was being paid less than her male coworkers, but not knowing or believing that she had the right to ask for more money. So this collection features essays about a wide range of harassment and abuse like that. It grew out of Janet's commitment to show young girls that they do have a voice, and having these beloved authors share their experiences is a powerful way to show readers that they are not alone. And that's it from me. If you're interested in receiving a galley of any of these titles, go ahead and email me. If I have it, I will send it to you. Thanks for listening.
Thank you so much, Lynette. Next up, we have Anthony Parisi. Anthony is the Associate Director of School and Library Marketing at Tor, coordinating library initiatives for both their adult and children's titles. Anthony began his publishing career at Soundprint before eventually making his way to Simon & Schuster, where he worked in the Education and Library Marketing Department for 7 years. As an avid reader of YA and adult fiction, Anthony is thrilled to be at Tor, where he can continue sharing book recommendations with educators and librarians. The floor is yours, Anthony.
Thank you. Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. I'm so excited to be here with you, sharing what's new and exciting coming from Tor Teen. First up is Everlasting Nora by Miranda Cruz. First published by our middle grade imprint Starscape in 2018, Miranda Cruz's debut, Everlasting Nora, follows the story of a young girl living in the real-life shanty town inside the Philippines' Manila North Cemetery. Dealing with issues like poverty, homelessness, and parental death, Nora touches on many important topics not often addressed enough in young adult literature. But though these issues are heavy, the book is not without hope. The human spirit is to survive and thrive is portrayed in a heartfelt and earnest way by our heroine, Nora. In fact, Everlasting Nora is also an adventure story. When Nora's mother disappears mysteriously one day, she is left all alone. But with the help of her best friend Jojo and the support of his kind-hearted grandmother, Nora embarks on a journey riddled with danger in order to find her mom. Our author, Miranda Cruz, grew up in the Philippines and is intimately familiar with the city of Manila, which is the setting of the book. This book means a lot to her as she hopes to share a light on the Filipino culture and for Filipino children to see themselves reflected in her work. With 2-star reviews from School Library Journal and Kirkus, plus wonderful praise from Melissa De La Cruz, Erin Entrada Kelly, and Alex Gino, who called it a thrilling, memorable adventure, we are primed to have Everlasting Nora come out in paperback this March. Now coming from Tor Teen, we have This Light Between Us by Andrew Fukuda. This Light Between Us is about the unlikeliest of pen pals, a Japanese-American boy and a French-Jewish girl, as they fight to maintain hope during World War II. Set in 1935, 10-year-old Alex Mackey from Bainbridge Island, Washington, is upset when he's forced to become pen pals with Charlie Levy of Paris, as he thought she was a boy. But in spite of Alex's reluctance, their letters continue to fly across the Atlantic, along with their shared hopes and dreams of friendship. However, the Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor and the growing Nazi persecution of Jews in Europe changes everything. After the attack, Alex is plagued by rampant racism by his fellow American neighbors, peers, and comrades. And in Paris, Charlie is forced to fear for her life as the Nazis begin occupying the city. This is a powerful story of World War II, but it's also a beautiful story of friendship and coming of age told through a historical context. These two characters have never met, yet their letters to each other offer one another hope and love during a time when they need it the most. Taking readers from the desolation of an internment camp on the plains of Manzanar to the horrors of Auschwitz and the devastation of European battlefields, This Light Between Us is a story of perseverance, bravery, and love. And though there are numerous novels of World War II, Alex's is a fresh story of the internment of Japanese Americans and the Japanese American experience broadly. So, though readers of The Librarian of Auschwitz and Salt of the Sea will flock to this story, This Light's unique and original angle on a popular subject will also bring in new readers who are just looking for a compelling read. Meanwhile, teachers and librarians will be well primed to integrate This Light into the English or history curricula alongside the study of works such as Anne Frank's diary. And next we have Strange Exit by Parker Peevyhouse. With a super fast pace, an immersive psychological mystery, and a strong commercial hook, Parker Peevyhouse's second near-future thriller follows a teen girl who travels into a corrupted, simulated reality to find and extract her sister who refuses to surface. 17-year-old Lake spends her days searching a strange, post-apocalyptic landscape for people who have forgotten one very important thing. This isn't reality. Everyone she meets is a passenger aboard a ship that's been orbiting Earth since a nuclear event. The simulation that was supposed to prepare them for life after the apocalypse has trapped their minds in a shared virtual reality and their bodies in stasis chambers. No one can get off the ship until all of the passengers are out of the sim, and no one can get out of the sim unless they believe it's a simulation, and it's up to Lake to save them all. This is perfect for fans of Cass Morgan's The 100 and Patrick Ness's More Than This. Next, we have Scammed, the follow-up to The Deceivers by Kristen Simmons. The Deceivers will be released in paperback on the same day as Scammed, with a brand new look that we hope captures the intrigue, drama, and romance that readers can expect in this series. In The Deceivers, readers were introduced to Vale Hall, the school for aspiring con artists. When Bryn Hilder is recruited to Vale, it seems like the elite academy is her chance to start over, away from her mom's loser boyfriend and her rundown neighborhood. But she soon learns that Vale chooses students not so much for their scholastic talent, but for their extracurricular activities, such as their time spent conning rich North Shore kids out of their extravagant allowances. At first, Bryn jumps at the chance to help the school in its mission to rid the city of corrupt officials, because what could be better than giving entitled jerks what they deserve? But that's before she meets her Mark, a senator's son, and before she discovers the school's headmaster has secrets he'll stop at nothing to protect. And in Scammed, the stakes are higher and the cons are even riskier. Readers will enjoy even more twists and schemes than in the first book. This series is a fun, contemporary thrill ride for fans who love Riverdale and Pretty Little Liars. Sparrow by Mary Cecilia Jackson. In the tradition of Laurie Hall Sanderson's Speak or Gail Forman's If I Stay, Mary Cecilia Jackson's devastating but hopeful YA debut is about a ballerina who finds the courage to confront the abuse that haunts her past and threatens her future. Though Savannah Rose, or Sparrow to her friends and family, is a gifted ballerina, her real talent is keeping secrets. Sparrow had been schooled and silenced by her long-dead mother and has always believed that her lifelong creed, "I'm not the kind of girl who tells," will make her just like everyone else, normal, happy, and safe. But in the aftermath of a brutal assault by her seemingly perfect boyfriend Tristan, Sparrow must finally find the courage to confront the ghosts of her past or lose herself forever. Told in alternate perspectives between Sparrow and her best friend Lucas, this story will stay with you long after you finish. This is a gorgeous debut with absolute lyrical writing, an authentic voice, and fully realized characters that will make you think about this book long after you finish reading. Mary is definitely a star to watch, and we couldn't be more honored to have this important story be part of our list. Next is Echoes Between Us by Katie McGarry. Echoes is a brand new look for Katie, who's generally known for her YA contemporary romances. But with this being Katie's best book yet, full of rich storylines, believable characters that will steal your heart, and of course a delightful romance, we wanted the cover to capture all the feels that this book delivers. Veronica is a misfit who spends lots of time alone in her family's big, seemingly haunted house ever since her mom passed away from the same type of brain tumor that she has. Her dad is a long-distance trucker and gives her lots of free rein. Veronica also suffers from migraines that consume her whole life. And to top it off, she can see ghosts, but more specifically, her mother's ghost. And then there's Golden Boy Sawyer, who is handsome and popular, a state champion swimmer, but this All-American is hiding an adrenaline addiction that could kill him. When Sawyer moves into the apartment on the first floor of Veronica's house, he becomes mesmerized by her fearlessness, and the two end up giving in to their inescapable attraction. This story provides lots of thrills and chills, from suggesting that malevolent ghosts might be real, to Veronica's growing sickness, to Sawyer's dangerous adrenaline addiction and troubled home life. Readers of McGarry's previous books will be impressed by the depth that she takes her characters in this novel, and fans of Nicola Yoon and John Green will love this contemporary supernatural YA. Every Reason We Shouldn't by Sarah Fujimura. This is a charming, multicultural romance about 16-year-old figure skater Olivia Kennedy's Olympic dreams having just ended. She's bitter, but enjoying life as a regular teenager instead of trying to live up to expectations of being the daughter of Olympians Michael Kennedy and Midori Nakashima, until Jonah Choi starts training at her family's struggling rink. Jonah's driven, talented, going for the Olympics in speed skating, completely annoying, and very cute. Between teasing Jonah, helping her best friend try out for a roller derby, figuring out life as a normal teen, and keeping the family business running, Olivia's got her hands full. But will rivalry bring her closer to Jonah or drive them apart? This is a clean teen, feel-good story featuring mixed-race characters and a swoon-worthy romance that is perfect for readers looking for their next book after Jenny Han's To All the Boys I've Loved Before. Next is a super fun start to a new series, The Extraordinaries by TJ Klune. This is TJ's YA debut, and he delivers an irresistible, funny, queer coming-of-age story about a fanboy with ADHD and the superheroes he loves. Nick Bell is not extraordinary, but he is the most popular fan fiction writer in the Extraordinaries fandom. But after a chance encounter with Shadowstar, Nova City's mightiest superhero and Nick's biggest crush, Nick is dead set on becoming an extraordinary himself, agreeing to do whatever it takes to become one. And he plans to do it with or without the reluctant help of Seth Gray, Nick's best friend and maybe the love of his life. The Extraordinaries combines Klune's charming, fresh voice with a contemporary, coming-of-age queer story that has a fun, commercial, speculative element like Adam Silvera's They Both Die at the End, Rainbow Rowell's Carry On, and Marissa Meyer's Renegades. Klune's writing is fresh, natural, and genuinely funny. YA fans will eat this up. And last from Tor Teen is A Song Below Water by Bethany C. Morrow. Legacies meets Nick Stone's Dear Martin in this YA debut about two best friends discovering their magical identities against the challenges of today's racism and sexism. Tavia is already at odds with the world, forced to keep her siren identity under wraps in a society that wants to keep her kind under lock and key. Never mind, she's also stuck in Portland, Oregon, a city with only a handful of black folk and even fewer of those with magical powers. At least she has her best friend Effie by her side as they tackle high school drama, family secrets, and unrequited crushes. But everything changes in the aftermath of a siren murder trial that rocks the nation. The girl's favorite internet fashion icon reveals she's also a siren, and the news rips through their community. Tensions escalate when Effie starts being haunted by demons from her past, and Tavia accidentally lets out her magical voice during a police stop. No secret seems safe anymore, and soon Portland won't be either. Daniel Jose Older, New York Times bestselling author of Shadow Shaper, loves this own voices story, saying that it's the best YA novel I've read all year. We also received quotes from Rebecca Roanhorse, Heidi Heilig, L.L. McKinney, and more. With so much praise and early love for this book, we are poised for a breakout, bold new voice in YA contemporary fantasy. And that's it from me. You can follow us online at torteen.com, where you can sign up for our free monthly newsletter, or find us on social media at Tor Teen. And, of course, you can also email me if you heard anything today that you'd like to read or if you have any questions. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Anthony. Our final presenter today will be Londa Aldering. Londa is a 20-plus year veteran of the publishing industry and has worked specifically in the YA space for the past 3.5 years as Vice President of Marketing for Blink YA Books and HarperCollins Focus. Take it away, Londa.
Thank you, and good afternoon, everyone. Again, my name is Londa Aldering, and on behalf of Blink YA Books, I'm pleased to share some great titles with you today. These books will take you into new and creative worlds, into the world of a deaf teenager, to a fantasy retelling of a classical story, to a fantastical city in which memories are currency, to 1940s New York, where Egyptian royalty is fighting Hitler's army, to modern Chicago, where a flash mob is picking off people one by one, to the bottom of the ocean with a shipwreck, and on one crazy road trip with two cousins. These titles will capture readers from the first line and keep them guessing all the way to the end. And just as a reminder, for all of these, educator guides for the titles are available and can be found on the Blink YA website at blinkyabooks.com/teacher guides. Before I jump into the titles that I want to tell you about today, I just want to remind you that Blink recently released the softcover versions of Kwame Alexander's Swing and Solo YA novels. Both retail at $10.99. Written in Kwame's signature verse style, these would make great additions for your classroom or libraries, or, of course, a bookshelf at your home. Now on to our newer titles. I'd like to recap first a few of our newest fall releases. The Silence Between Us is an own voice novel. It's the sophomore release from Allison Gervais. This book is poignant and extremely heartfelt as it shines a spotlight on the deaf and hard of hearing community and incorporates American Sign Language beautifully into the text. This sensational cover was designed by deaf artist Nancy Rourke, and we are so excited to have representation from the deaf and hard of hearing community not only within the pages but also on the cover. School Library Journal says The Silence Between Us is a solid addition to middle/high school fiction that allows for deep discussion about stereotypes concerning disabilities. It's gotten several great reviews, and it was just announced as an NPR Favorite Books of 2019 book. It released on August 13th, and you can pick it up at your favorite retailer. The Tiger Queen is from Annie Sullivan. It's a fantasy retelling of Frank Stockton's famous short story, The Lady or the Tiger. Like Annie, many of you may have read the short story in middle school. Tiger Queen is full of secrets, suitors, thieves, and a fierce desert princess who fights to save her kingdom and preserve her right to rule. Within the pages of this book, the princess also answers the question of which door and what is behind the door. Booklist says Sullivan retells Frank R. Stockton's short story, The Lady or the Tiger, expanding it into an exciting adventure that transports readers to a mythical kingdom filled with creatures and customs that will capture the interest of fantasy enthusiasts. Action, adventure, and a bit of romance blend well into a distinctive and exciting read. Annie once shared with us that she gives the book the ending she always thought it should have. What's the ending? You'll have to pick it up to find out. It's available at your favorite bookstore. Next is, in addition to this beautiful cover that you see here, there's also Thievery, Rebellion, and Strange Magic, and it will captivate readers in The Memory Thief from debut author Lauren Manzi. This fantasy novel brings readers on an unforgettable journey through the city of Krawick, a city where memories are currency, citizens are divided by ability, and gifted individuals can take memories from others as they please. 17-year-old Etta Clark is desperate to live outside of the corrupt culture, but grapples with the guilt of an accident that has left her mother bedridden in the city's asylum. When her mother's life is threatened, Etta will do whatever it takes to save her, even if that means stealing the memory of a secret map from the bloodthirsty ruler of a neighboring realm. So she sets on a journey in which she faces startling attacks, unexpected romance, and above all, her own past in order to set things right in her own world. Shelf Awareness says, a compelling, darkly fantastic tale. Though Manzi builds an expansive fantasy world all her own, her tale uses dystopian motifs to great success, such as the corrosive effects of an overabundance of power falling into the wrong hands and her stern commentary on the divide between the haves and the have-nots. Readers like Etta and her fellow citizens will be challenged to contemplate the nature of truth, considering the unique role that memories play in the realms. Manzi also delivers a fine romance made all the more gratifying by the difficulty sustained along the way. A welcome addition to YA fantasy canon, The Memory Thief is a suspenseful page-turner, delightfully shocking, chock full of unexpected twists and turns. So definitely add this to your to-be-read list. Next up, the swarm is unrecognizable, untraceable, and unpredictable. Random attacks on the streets of Chicago by a mob of crazed teens that leaves death in its wake. It's been 2 years since the last attack, but 16-year-old Leah Finch has found clues that reveal the swarm is ready to claim a new victim. So she works with an unexpected network of strangers to discover the truth behind her father's murder and works to prevent the next one before she can become its next victim. Beauty Bright says, don't miss it, it's a good one. YA and Kids Book Central says, original, engrossing, and full of suspense, Every Stolen Breath is an intense YA thriller/mystery and page-turner. It's inspired by the real-life flash mob violence that has plagued Chicago since 2011. Every Stolen Breath by debut author Kimberly Gabriel is a fast-paced and immersive thriller that shows just how hard one girl will fight back knowing any breath might be her last. This title released on November 5, and it's a great read to take place over the holidays when you have more time. Next up, we're going on to our 2020 releases. From Courtney Moulton, author of the acclaimed Angel Fire series, comes Warden of Eternity, an action-packed fantasy novel that blends history, mythology, and magic. How could you not want to read this? Ziva Ellison has one memory of her parents made the day they abandoned her on the streets of New York City when she was 3 years old. They left her with only a memory and a promise that she had a great and terrible destiny. 15 years later, Ziva discovers that destiny includes powers that she doesn't understand and can barely control. In the days leading up to the World War II, Ziva must rely on her wit and magic to outmaneuver Nazis and ancient Egyptian gods to prevent global destruction. It releases on January 21st, 2020. Freaky in Fresno is from Lori Boyle Crompton, author of Pretty in Punxsutawney, who loves all things 80s and true love kisses. Freaky in Fresno follows two drastically different cousins who end up waking up as the other in a Freaky Friday twist. Along the way, they discover that appearances can deceive. New contemporary YA explores identity, love, family bonds, and fighting for something larger than yourself. Booklist says it is a fun read full of romance, humor, and adventure, and it goes on sale February 11, 2020. Salty Bittersweet is an own voices novel from debut author Myra Cuevas. This book is a slow burn romance in a cutthroat kitchen featuring a Latina main character that is trilingual. In Salty Bittersweet, we learn there's more to becoming a top chef for 17-year-old Isabella Fields than just not getting chopped, especially when the chances of things heating up with an intriguing boy becoming a food star in the kitchen are both on the chopping block. Salty Bittersweet is inspired by the author's relationships with food and family and explores complicated family dynamics and relatable themes of friendship, acceptance, and learning to care for yourself. This title is available March 3rd, 2020. In Fractured Tide, from debut author Leslie Lutz, 17-year-old SIA practically grew up in the water scuba diving, and taking tourists out to see wreck dives are run-of-the-mill, but this time the dive goes terribly wrong. The unreliable narrator for this book keeps readers guessing what's real and what's not until the final pages. It releases on May 5 and should be on your spring/summer to-be-read list. Thanks so much for allowing me to share these titles with you. As previously mentioned, educator guides are available on our Blink website, www.blinkyabooks.com, and we do have some limited copies of ARCs available for Wardens of Eternity and Freaky in Fresno, and we will have ARCs for Salty Bittersweet and Fractured Tide coming up very soon. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Londa. And a big thank you to all of today's wonderful panelists. Tomorrow, all attendees will receive an email containing links to today's slide presentation, title list, certificate of completion, and video recording. For more about Booklist webinars, be sure to visit www.booklistonline.com/webinars, where you can view archives of past webinars and register for upcoming ones. If you haven't already, be sure to check out the Booklist Reader, where Booklist editors and contributors post weekly about all things books and library land. Have you read the latest issue of Book Links, a literature and STEM-based resource for educators and school librarians? This super supplement to Booklist comes free with January, April, September, and November issues, and is filled with classroom connections, author and illustrator interviews, and more. For educational content year-round, subscribe to Quick Tips, our monthly newsletter, at booklistonline.com/newsletters. Booklist has a digital edition of the magazine, which you can connect to via your subscription online. This format pairs the page-by-page reading experience of print with the convenience of online access, and it's included free with all Booklist subscriptions. If you're not yet a subscriber, take advantage of this special webinar offer to get print, online, digital, and archive access to Booklist for only $99. Thank you for joining us for today's webinar, and one more huge thank you to all our sponsors, Bloomsbury, Disney Book Group, Inkyard Press, Tor Teen, and Blink. This concludes today's webinar.